We live in a world of duality, where we have up, we have down, where we have light, we have dark, and where we have male, we have female. And so today I want to talk about this polarity that we have in the sexual nature of being human. We have the feminine aspect, which is the aspect more of receptivity, more of nurturing, and we have the masculine aspect, which is the aspect of us of going out and doing and creating and conquering. Now each human being has both elements within themselves, the outgoing masculine energy and the receptive feminine energy, the softer receptive feminine energy. The world today really honors the masculine energy, the energy of doing, of conquering, of creating, of manipulation and strategy. And yet, without the feminine energy, there would be none of us on planet Earth. We all come through the feminine. And the feminine is the receptive way of being. And I believe that when we were created in this dualistic universe, that God maybe created the feminine aspect, and out of the feminine aspect arose the masculine, the doing. And the male energy moved further away from the divine in the doing aspect of life. And the feminine was almost like the ear listening to God and transmitting that back to the female. And in fact, the desire unconsciously, I believe, for sexual union with the female is the desire to come back into union with the divine. The female anatomy is the only anatomy that has an organ totally dedicated to pleasure, to bliss. The male's anatomy serves several different functions, but one aspect of the female genitalia is just dedicated to bliss. And so I believe that the female can enter into that state of union with bliss, with the divine, far easier than the male. The male has to come back into the female to experience the divine connection with its creator again. And I don't believe that one is better than the other. I believe, yes, we need the outgoing, the doing, the actioning, but we also need the receptive, the listening aspect. And if we can honor both energies of masculine and feminine equally, and celebrate their diversity, but realize that one is not better than the other. They're all aspects of the divine's expression of creative intelligence. I believe we'll live a far more balanced and a far more creative life.
So having an orgasm, will that take you to a feeling of being closer to God?
Well, orgasm is a very interesting experience, because I believe the only thing that robs us of bliss, of joy, of peace is our mind. Now, our mind is always in a constant state of flux, of judgment, of preferences, or hopes, expectations, resentments, anger, depression. And I often visualize that as a sort of bubble coming out of our head. We have a bubble on this side of maybe all the things in our past, and we have a bubble on this side of all the things of our future. But it's almost like the sign of infinity going around. And in the center point, there's a collapse where there's no story. And as we go about our days, we live our lives in both of these bubbles, past and future. But when we, for example, quieten our mind through physical stimulation, and for a brief moment, we collapse the mind and we experience orgasm. There's no thought. You try and have an orgasm when you're thinking about your story, when you're thinking about your future or thinking about your past. The orgasm won't happen. It only happens when your mind collapses into the still state of presence. And in that collapse process, you experience the bliss of true being, the bliss of connecting with the divine presence within you. Orgasm is the gateway to direct connection with the divine. The problem is that people then focus on the act of sex to bring them that feeling, rather than realizing it's that the mind collapsed for a brief moment. That presence became far more important to them than any past or any future, any expectation, any shoulds, coulds, any rules, any set of circumstances. They were all let go of. And for a moment, you allowed what was to be. fully in this moment, and then the bliss enveloped your awareness.